My name is Nick. I own architecturalvacancies.com, and this is my new podcast, Richard being the first person in the architectural industry that I'm interviewing for my new podcast, which is an interview with an architect. Richard is a director of Alston and Donnelly, based here in Lancaster. Over to you.
Well, thank you for having me on your first show. I'm really pleased. Yeah, I'm one half of Alston and Donnelly.
Yeah.
So we are chartered architectural technologists. We've got an office in Lancaster, but we work nationally.
Yeah.
On residential and commercial projects.
Okay. And how long has the practice been going? How long have you been involved as an architectural technologist? What's been your career history to date?
Well, to be honest, this is all I've ever actually done.
Okay.
So I always wanted a career in art or design. So I actually went to art college.
Okay.
I finished art college and I was looking at going to university to study art or graphic design. And I actually lived next door to a building control officer.
Okay.
And he said, "Do you want a job? Do you want to do something?"
Yeah.
And I went, "Yeah, absolutely. Earn a little bit of money."
Yeah.
And I started working for a structural engineer.
Okay.
And that's when I became really like I suppose you'd call it like an AutoCAD draftsman.
Yeah.
So I was doing like steelwork detailing and things like that. Then I thought, well, this isn't really aligned with this sort of artistic side that I've got.
Yeah.
So I went and started an architectural technology degree program.
Okay.
But I did it part-time on day release.
Yeah.
So then I transitioned across and worked for a number of kind of quite big award-winning architects.
Yeah.
Then I decided that I wanted to explore the industry a bit more.
Okay.
I went and worked as a technical and sales manager for a couple of global PLC businesses.
Yeah.
And then I came back into my own practice. So Alston Donnelly now has been trading for 10 years.
Okay. And so how many staff is you and your co-director?
Yeah, so there's myself and Steve Donnelly.
Yeah.
We're the two directors of the company. Then we have a architectural technologist and an interior designer.
Okay.
So we're a small team, but we work on some pretty big projects.
What are the main projects you're involved in at the moment? What's the big kind of schemes you're working on?
So our business is really actually split into three separate avenues.
Yeah.
So we do architectural, the what I would call traditional architectural services.
Yeah.
So that's like your planning, building regs, and contract admin
Yeah.
mainly for residential.
Okay.
So we do works to existing houses, new builds.
Yeah.
We work with developers, housing sites, anything up to 25 houses.
How are you finding the planning policies up in the northwest? Obviously, I'm from the southwest.
Yeah.
I hear lots of scare stories from practices all around the country. Is it the same up here as it is down there, or
yes,
long lead times and lots of drama?
Yeah, still long lead times. Seems to still be that fallout from COVID.
Yeah. Do you kind of pass this on to your clients? Do you make them aware that this is going to be often a slow burn, and we have to go with it? Or
yes, well, I mean we have to, because otherwise I think people would get quite frustrated with some of the time frames. There's a lot of red tape to jump through now. The building regs changed, the Building Safety Act in October, so that's there's more red tape on the planning side and then more red tape on the building reg side.
Right. Yeah.
So the whole industry is really getting more complicated.
Yeah, and bringing new recruits into the industry. Do you see? I've worked in architectural recruitment for nearly 30 years now, and I think it's as buoyant and as busy as it was back in the 90s. I'm seeing lots of practices recruit, lots of people coming up through the ranks, lots of people still, university graduates coming in. Do you still see that? I mean, obviously you're talking specifically northwest location, but I can see it right across the country.
Yeah, we do see that. I think at the moment, I think what you always get is as the industry gets more complicated, there's more specialisms. So I think historically, like sometimes architecture can be quite old-fashioned and hierarchical.
Yeah.
And there's this route that you just either go down the route of being an architect, or you're a draffy, working out of a bedroom. And that's not really, in my eyes, how the industry works anymore.
No.
So there's so many routes to entry to the market.
Yeah.
And there's things like, you have your architects, your architectural technologists, technicians.
Yeah.
But there's also more, you have like your BIM managers.
Yeah.
I think there's a huge focus of people doing things like architectural technology, or even architects transitioning across to work for main contractors.
Yes.
And like design manager roles.
Yeah.
Or working for larger employers like BAE.
Yeah.
They're always on the lookout for people as well. So I think there's more routes into the market now, and more disciplines, rather than just the traditional routes to market.
And your practice, you mentioned, we talked about the planning processes and stuff. Your practice can run pretty much any project from start to finish.
Yeah.
All REBA stages.
Yeah, we do everything from concept to completion.
Yeah.
So we do the traditional services.
Yeah.
We also represent a product called Duo. It's actually pronounced Uvo, but we call it Duo in the UK.
Yeah.
Which is like a monolithic clay building system.
Yeah, I've seen you promoting that on LinkedIn. That's obviously
Yeah. So the exciting thing for us with that is, I think the architecture industries are now becoming a bit more collaborative.
Yeah.
So rather than the old-fashioned working in silos.
Yeah.
People are a lot happier to work with other disciplines and experts in different fields.
Yeah.
So that allows us to specify like really green, sustainable products.
Yeah.
But working with other architects.
Okay.
So maybe on projects that aren't ours, not in competition, as a supplier to them.
Absolutely. A lot of interior practices may be in touch with you for certain things, I presume, as well. Interior designers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's just
and
that
landscape architects, and
Yeah, it's that. I think it's more now that holistic view. That clients want they want a solution. They want a managed solution from start to finish.
Okay.
Not a fragmented service. And I think you can get a fragmented service if you go to, one person to do one aspect.
Yeah.
You go to a landscape guy to do a different bit. You need that joined up thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you have kind of plans for growth? You and I have spoken over the last couple of years or so. Obviously, selflessly promoting my website here, but I came up with the concept of my website because, having done this for a few decades, the world of architectural recruitment is expensive. Agencies are costly. People are talking 18, 20, 25%. If you were to need a new technologist, an agency is likely to charge you 3, 4, or 5 grand, which makes it very costly to do. The whole premise of my website is for 200 quid. We give your vacancies the exposure, and what are your thoughts with growth and what have you moving forward, and how would you look to do that?
Yeah, so we've got quite ambitious plans for growth.
Yeah.
So we've recently I think our last figures, we've just grown about 40% in the last year.
Yeah.
And one of the avenues we're taking is we've actually moved fully into the clean room design and build market.
Okay.
So we're not only designing small clean rooms, we can actually go and supply them and install them as well.
Okay.
And I think the really fantastic thing about the services that you offer is it gives that exposure to people in the marketplace who might want to move into something different.
Yeah.
So for example, coming up shortly, we're going to be looking for a project manager.
Okay.
But really, rather than a project manager from a traditional project management route, I'd quite like to hire an architect or a technician or a technologist, someone from the CAD Revit background who understands how planning works. Okay. When I say planning, I don't mean putting a house in for planning. I mean how you plan a project. So we're going to build the envelope, then we need the flooring guys to come in, then we're going to fit the ceiling. That sequence of works. And I think that person who will transition in will likely be someone that's doing an architectural function, but maybe wants a slight sideways step, but wants to stay within architecture.
Okay, yeah. Do you does your practice, from the COVID days, does your practice offer flexi remote working? Are you all in the office Monday to Friday? How do you operate?
So we've got an office.
Yeah.
Well, here at Whitecross Business
Yeah.
Park. I like an office,
Yeah.
and I like that face-to-face collaborative working. I think when you can work from home,
Yeah.
you can feel a bit disjointed.
Yeah. No, I agree.
But yeah, we'd absolutely be flexible.
Yeah.
And I think people need to come into the office every so often,
Yeah.
more to build those relationships. Not so much as because you have to come in,
Yeah.
but to build that sense of camaraderie with your
Yeah,
colleagues.
it's very rare for any practice in the UK now to have complete remote working. It just doesn't work. It's we're coming back round to now, well, often they'll do 5 days in the office. I'm seeing most are flexi, so you can come when you fancy, but as long as you're doing, say, 3 or 4 days, perhaps 1 day at home. But you're quite right, because you're in the design field, then people need to work collaboratively and be together ultimately. So.
Yeah, but I think there'll always be in my opinion, there'll always be a place for hybrid working.
Yeah.
Because I think you need that flexibility in your life as well.
Yeah.
I've worked in architects before with the old loads of unpaid overtime. When everyone's doing the competition of who can stay the latest.
Yes. We've all been there. Hopefully those days are gone.
Well, I think they're very much still here.
Do you think?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think a lot of places say that it's not.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people that work for large practices, and
okay.
I think there's still a culture of that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely shifting
and
improving.
Good. Okay. Well, look. Thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else kind of you want to go through with, obviously you understand how my business work. We now let everybody know about yourself, your practice and your plans. And I think that's it. I thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you very
much. Being number one of 10,000 to come, hopefully. But,
I hope it prompts some good feedback and conversation.
That's all we're after. We're looking for exposure to the business and the industry, and hopefully our chat today will bring eyes on your practice, the industry, technologists, architecture generally, and that can only be a good thing.
Yeah, agreed.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.